History of Management, Part 4. Let's just reflect for a moment. Why am I going through this history of all these different approaches that people have taken? Well, when we look at organizations today, they're made up of people and influenced by many ideas over time. Management in different companies have adopted different practices and policies, some of them long-term and sustainable, and others whatever happens to be the flavor of the day. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at two others, and that is Theory X and Theory Y. And let's just get right into it. Theory X and Y is by McGregor. It's his theory of motivation. And he supposes that there's really two extremes, if you will. Theory X says people only work for the money. Okay? And Theory Y is individuals are self-motivated. So you're going to different extremes here. When we look at some of the detail, in Theory X, people want to avoid to work. They need to have some level of control over what they're doing. They want to avoid responsibility, but yet they want security in their job. So from an individual perspective, you don't want to work. You need to keep a level of control. You don't want to take responsibilities, and workers seek security. I think that's very true. I think I have seen people over the years, both as employees, as peers, and as students. At times it's easy just to say, I don't want to work. I just want to bang on my drums all day. And then there's the Theory Y, that work is natural, that you're capable of self-direction. Okay? You seek responsibility and more. And you can make good decisions. So we look at this, and there are really two different approaches to work itself by employees, but from a management perspective, we need to realize they're there. So what we're doing is really taking bits and pieces from all of these things that have been done over time and say, how do we put them together for us as individuals, you as an individual, to be successful, and how can we use that knowledge to make businesses more successful? I think they broke it. I'm going to keep going with this because I think if we break it into some pieces here, we got to add it, and you go from extremes. I want to point out that 0 to 100. People don't like work. They find it boring. Okay? We'll avoid it if they can. People need to work, but they take an interest in it. Under right conditions, they actually can enjoy it. I'd be a philosopher. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's not worthwhile. I've been in situations where I just wasn't happy. I was stressed. And today, I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm having fun. But I think we got to look at, we'll see this when we look at Dr. Deming, is that why do we avoid it? We've got to ask the question why. Direction, people must be forced or bribed to make the right effort. We got to incent you to do more. People direct themselves towards a target that they accept if they believe that you can achieve it. People would rather be directed than accept responsibility, which they avoid. Easier to be told what to do than to seek out and do what you think you should do. We have motivation. People are motivated primarily by money and fears about their job security. When we get to Dr. Deming, on any day could be your last. People are motivated by the desire to realize their own potential. This comes back to Maslow's theory of self-actualization. And creativity. People don't want to, on Theory X, they just want to do their job and be done. No creativity. Theory Y, people want to explore those features. So that's this. You'll see a little bit of everybody in this, and I think if you were to go and do this and grade yourself on a scale where you are today, you might find that you're a little bit of X and a little bit of Y. As we keep going, what do managers do differently? So if a manager, both a Theory X manager, Theory Y manager, they have different styles, if you will, to working with them. So if you start with a theory X, somebody hates working, they dislike responsibility, minimum ambition, no ideas, only work for the money, they can't solve any difficult problems or do anything more. What is the management style? Now we're looking at how managers behave. Tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Close supervision. Watch them carefully. Make the decisions yourself. Don't let them make decisions. Don't engage them and participate with them. Rewards are only in pay. Okay? And you expect a minimum. You don't expect anybody to go beyond the absolute minimum. Now, it does seem that there's an alignment between Theory X managers and Theory X people. Let's move over to Theory Y managers. As an individual, as a Theory Y person, I mean, some of this is behavioral, I believe, but I think a lot of it is a result of the situation. This is where we come back to one of the first concepts we introduced, the person-situation model. Theory Y, people enjoy their work. They want to make a contribution, want to make a difference, and they accept responsibilities. I don't know how many times people have come to me and say, hey, could you do this? And at first there might be, oh, yeah, but I end up doing stuff. Ability to solve problems. I think I spent my entire career trying to solve problems. And I think it comes from within. We'll talk about, I'll give you one example, is when I was at HSBC Bank, a lot of times there were problems. Things got broken. And I think I have a fair ability to solve problems, but I'm willing to jump in and do that. Sometimes maybe it's ambitious, or is there intellectual capacity, curiosity? At one point, we had the bank overall worldwide moved operations from the call centers from London to Bangalore in India. Worked just fine, no problems. Next step, here in the U.S., we decide to move it to the same thing. Call centers go to Bangalore. Oh my God, it was a total failure. Oh my God, it was terrible. Customer complaints, people weren't happy. It was just a disaster. So we said, well, what's going on? What is different? And this is the outside the box thinking that we had to do. And what it was, where did the people in India learn to speak English? From the British. So when you call the call center in India from the UK, they sounded like you. You call from the US, they don't sound like you. They sound different. So what do you think the solution was? We moved it to the Philippines. Why did we move it to the Philippines? Where did the Filipinos learn to speak English? From the Americans. And it worked just fine. But I was willing to jump in on that, try to solve it, and it actually was enjoyable. Make long-term plans and achieve them. Maybe ambitious. I guess that what I did was a little ambitious. But what's the motivational style of Theory Y managers? Give people responsibility. Let them make decisions on their work. Allow them to make and implement suggestions. Reward them in other ways other than money. I always believe give people, let them do what they'd really like to do. They will perform. That's been my experience. Engage them in the process. They know more about it than I ever did. They want to make things better. If you think about why people don't like work, it might be because nobody values them. They can't make suggestions. They're told this is the way. Workers know what to do to finish things. Reward them in ways other than money. Oh, I have found this in my experience to be absolutely great. When we used to have promotions and people would have a great sale, I'd go out and visit them. I'd make a sign, but I would bring them what motivates them. Sometimes they need to be acknowledged in meetings, and I would do that. Sometimes they like me to come and make a big deal. Maybe I brought donuts for them, but I remembered their favorite donut, and if it was a really big deal, I would bring them a great bottle of wine, one they would like. But I knew what people wanted, and I rewarded them. It wasn't always money. Acknowledgments go a long way. Appreciation, engagements, and even asking people to do more can be a way of rewarding. You did such a great job on that. Could you do that. So we want to look at this, and I think we could put this in the educational setting too. We have instructors who are very much Theory X managers. Okay, I'm sure you've had classes like that. And then there's the Theory Y, but it's somewhere in between that works. We'll just see how we do on that. Keeping going on Theory X and Y, I found a couple of interesting things here. People are passive, human nature. They remain children, grown larger. People are naturally active. They set goals. They usually mature beyond childhood. They aspire to independence, self-fulfillment, actualization, and responsibility, very much as Maslow had suggested. The main force for keeping people working is the fear of being demoted or fired and not having that basic need met. It offers many satisfaction, pride and achievement, meeting people, new challenges and growth, achieve their goals and social goals. Really, work is social. If you think about how much time you spend in the work environment, those people are people you're with. If you don't like them people, or you can't get along, it's really hard. But sometimes the things we appreciate most are the people that we work with. Jobs come first. People are selected, trained, and fitted to meet the needs. That's where you go. They're compartmentalized. They do this, and you separate the two. Theory Y out of management, people come first. Workers seek self-realization, and jobs got to be designed and modified to fit the people. So if you think about it this way, do you design the job around for the right person to fit in, or do you select, train, and do a job? Slight difference there. But again, how do we make this work as managers? We do a little of both. So so hopefully you can start to see how some of these come together. There's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And we're probably at the end of the semester, I just had a great idea, is that our final reflection might be on how do these all tie together. Then there is Argus's personality and organization. And he argues that people want to be treated as adults. We don't want to be treated as children. We'll perform better with less restrictive, defined tasks. And it runs counter to scientific and administrative theories that argue for close supervision. Remember, we're in a changing environment. Changing. And we need to adapt to that. And when you look at this, his theory of immaturity and maturity, which goes along with this, we have maturity dimension: activity, independence, diverse behavior, a deep interest, long-term, superordinous, self-awareness and control. Immaturity, passivity, dependence, limited ways of behaving. Okay? Shallow interest. We don't go deeper. Short-term perspective, subordinate position, lack of self-awareness. These neither are good nor bad. As an individual, the more we can realize what we need to do to be successful, we can do those things. If we don't know, we can't grow, we can't learn. If you're a manager in an organization, being aware of these, the behaviors you engage, because you're going to be working with people who have these. So if you can figure out how to recognize behaviors and then use the appropriate management technique or behavior to get the best out of them, you will be successful. Next piece we're going to take a look at is, my favorite, is Dr. Deming, and many of you participated with me in the Red Bead. So if you have any questions, please let me know.